Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. So today's class is again based in building a handstand and some dynamic stretching to help with opening of the hips for side splits and front splits. I'm going to use a chair at some point, and that'll help you with some of the squatting techniques that I'm going to use. You could use a wall as well. You don't need a chair, but it can be helpful, and it's a good way to kind of slowly start to build a greater range of motion with squatting and back bending. I really love the support for these classes, so thanks for, if you're a new person that's trying the class, thanks for trying it out. And those of you that continue to take the class and have taken for years, some of you have taken class with me for over 10 years, I love it, and I love all the messages and the positivity, so thank you. And if you can't donate, it's fine. We love that you're here, and that's why I'm offering the classes for free. But if you can donate, you can Venmo me at Jon Witt Yoga, and that's also my PayPal account. I have a class on Sundays, and that's a Zoom class, and that's from 10 to 11. And that's a great format because then I could see you. I could, if you're someone that I've never met before, we can chat, right? I can help you build your practice, whether it be through an injury or helping you progress more dynamically. So to register for that class, it's on my website, jonwittyoga.com. And to register, you could also buy masks or make donations for our mask project. All the information is on my website. So to start the class, we're going to start it in an all-four position. So come onto your hands and your knees. And then when your hands are underneath you, you're just going to be moving the weight around. So when you're on your hands and you're moving laterally, just get used to bringing the weight more forward in the front of the hand. So for some of you, your shoulders might not be quite over the shoulder might not be over the hand, the wrist yet, but that's really key in balancing. So if my shoulders are back here, I won't balance. If my shoulders are excessively always over my wrist, it's really hard on the wrist. It could be really hard on the lower back. So if you took a picture of yourself or if you videoed yourself, it's very easy for me to correct it, and it wouldn't really take that long. So get in the habit of taking photos of yourself and videotaping yourself, and you can really speed up the process as far as being on your hands more. So just come back into the middle and have the shoulders over the hands or wrists, and lift the heels of your hands off the floor and slowly lower them down, and then lift them up again and then lower. It can be quite difficult to do, but it'll help build up strength in the hands, and it'll also teach you how to distribute the weight either back into the front of the hand or the heel of the hand. These are not fun initially, but they're very, very valuable in building better strength in the wrist. So if you have pain in the wrist, this is probably the better way to start, as opposed to adding more flexibility to the wrist and the hands. So just bring it back to center and then turn the hands back towards the knees. And when the hands are turned back, I'm just going to be moving the weight side to side again. And then in moving it weight side to side, this will help in stretching out the forearm more. So I'm going to bring the weight back a little bit and then forward. So pulling back and then pulling forward. And then when you bring it back, if you've had some experience with this, just lift the heels of the hands off the floor, bend the elbows, and then bring them down. And then bend the elbows, pull them back, and then forward. Uncomfortable, it will be, but it shouldn't hurt. If it hurts, I wouldn't use it. Come back into the middle and then just turn the hands forward and round through the shoulders and be on the tops of your feet and lift your knees off the floor and push really, really hard through the hands. And when you push, you should start to feel how the shoulders will engage, and this is what will keep you up. If you have a bend in the elbows, you're most likely not using the shoulders, the serratus, to your advantage, and that's partially why people can't hold the balance. They might hold it for a couple seconds and then they have to come down. So step back into a plank, and when you step back into a plank, hollow out through the front of your body. Get really, really hollow, because this is what you're ultimately trying to keep when you're in your handstand. Now we're going to walk, transfer the weight hand to hand walk the weight back into the hands or to the feet. And then when you're in a forward fold, just take the hands a bit to the left, take the hands to the right, and bring it back into the middle. And when you're back in the middle, we're going to come back into a plank again. So in plank, push through the hands, round through the shoulders, right? Take a couple deep breaths here, right? And go up into a down dog. And in a down dog, again, it's nice to relax, but to really develop a handstand, grip the floor with your fingertips, rotate the shoulders out, and pull back with the hips. Move the weight around, pedal the legs out. These are all good things to do, but keeping the belly and the ribs in will help hold the handstand. Now, just come down onto your hands and your knees, and just have the hands underneath the shoulders, and let the chest depress down in between the arms. And then as you let the chest depress down, push through the hands and round through the back so the shoulders are more engaged. Again, you'll need to keep this. So let the chest drop down in between the arms and then round through the back. Now come up into plank. And when you come up into plank, what you're going to do is grip the floor, hollow out through the body, and then spin the heels to the left side for a side plank. So take the right arm up, and this is no different than a one-handed handstand, obviously very different, but similar in the effect that you really have to support your weight independently on one arm. So, you know, if you're really using the arm, you might actually be shaking like I am. Bring the right hand down, and then spin the heels to the right side, and learn how to push really, really hard through the hands to fingertips. Take the left arm up, and then I'm rotating my left shoulder back, and that'll help for the next exercise that we're going to do. Bring the left hand down, and then walk the hands back towards the feet again. This helps in eventually walking up the wall with your feet in a handstand. So walking back, very, very helpful. And then as we're going to come back into a plank again, or just come down to all fours. And when you come down to all fours, have the hands just here, and I'm rotating the eye of the elbow forward. Now as I'm rotating the eye of the elbow forward, I'm trying to rotate the shoulder out. So I'm really getting the shoulders to rotate out. I'm going to lift the knees off the floor, and this is for the shoulders. I'm going to just transfer the weight forward and back. When it goes back towards the feet, step the right foot over the left, push through the hand, look through the left to the left hand, and rotate more and more through the shoulder. You won't need this much rotation in a handstand, but it's good in warming up the shoulders so that it can support the weight. Continue to look to the floor, bring the right hand down. Just transfer the weight forward and back. When it goes back into the feet, step the left foot over the right, push strong through the right hand, and spin the head of the shoulder out, and then that'll help in moving the scapula, which will help you in supporting yourself on your hands. And then come back into a down dog. So hips back, walk the hands back towards the feet. As you walk the hands back, right, we're going to do roll yourself up to a standing position. As you roll up, take the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, and when you hook the thumbs, get hollow through the front of the body and come up where you're lifting the heels off the floor. So you're just in a straight line. So at first you'll probably be looking to your hands for your handstand, which creates more of a sway. When you're looking more to the hand, when you're looking more to the heel of the hand or looking forward, it's less of a sway in the back. Then you can lower the heels. So we're going to go to the wall, and you're going to practice kicking up, and we'll practice for close to a minute. I'm not going to time it today, but when you go up, you could do it like Noah is. He's walking his feet up the wall, and that's a very difficult position to hold at 90. But how I'm going to do it is I'm going to kick up, and I'm going to kick up in threes. So I'm using my hands. I'm going to kick and come down. I'm going to kick and come down. And then I'm going to kick up. And then when I come up, I can practice keeping my feet at the wall, or I can do heel pulls.
So heel pulls are where you're taking the foot away from the wall, and then you're practicing balancing just for a few seconds. Then you could bring that foot into the wall again. What? And then you could go up again. I'm going to go up. So once I'm up, I'm going to bring the hands into the floor. I'm going to swing up, and then I'm going to push through the fingertips. So like what I'm saying, if I'm looking to the wall, I'm going to arc. So I'm trying to look, right, either to the heels of my hands or eventually to the wall that's I'm facing with my chest. Push really, really strong through the hands and get the glutes to be involved. Keep yourself from not swaying, or get in a good line. When you come down, practice coming as slow as you can down, and then as you fight gravity, you'll get stronger and you'll be able to support your weight better. So come into a standing forward bend, and in a standing forward bend, just interlace the fingers and move the hands, move the wrist around, which will help with the wrists, help with the forearms. Then take your left hand underneath your left foot so the toes are up to the wrist. I say this often, I'd bring more weight into the hand if I needed. So if you're kind of new to this, just keep the weight in the heel of the foot. Try to get the hand more and more underneath the foot and give it a slight rotation in the shoulder, and that'll add traction into the wrist. Take the left hand out and then bring the right hand underneath the right foot and the toes up to the wrist. And I don't feel as much in my right side, so I do work more on the development of my left side, whether it be my left leg or my left arm. So you can rotate the shoulder out, bring more weight into the hand. Again, if I was practicing on my own, I'd go back to my left. Separate your feet a little bit wider than the shoulders and come into a squat. So sit down nice and low into a squat. And when you squat, it's perfectly fine to have the feet turned out. But get in the habit of squatting throughout the day, and then that'll help you with sitting in, it'll help with Marichasana poses in yoga. It'll help more with Cossack stretches and like movement. I'm pushing through my feet and moving the weight around. And then what I'm going to do is stand back up. And then when I stand back up, have the hands on the outsides of the knees and just bend the knees a little bit and then straighten the legs. So I'm using my fingertips and the tissues around the knees. And if I don't feel a particular place that has tension or lack of movements in the tissues, I'll keep exploring to find what I need to adjust. Because a deep bend of the knee, there's a lot of range to it. And you want to find the ranges that aren't necessarily moving or they're conflicted, right? So come back, and then what I'm going to do is have the feet closer together, and I'm going to circle the knees in a circular motion. It's just getting the knees to move around. I'm going to circle around the opposite direction. Right? And then I'm going to come back up to standing. So take the feet out nice and wide, and with the feet out wide, turn the feet out slightly. And with the feet turned out slightly, just move into your right foot just a little bit. And I've said this before, to really go further in yoga, you're going to have to stretch out the poses more. Bring yourself up. Go into the left foot. I'm not going as deep as I can go. I'm doing this to help warm up your legs. You could certainly sit lower if you're ready for that. Bring yourself up and then go to the right. Last week I said elevate the heels. Certainly could do that. When you get to a lower position, you'll probably want to pick up the back foot. I'll do it on this side. So when I go into the left foot, at some point I'm going to pick up the toes, and that's what's going to help you sit lower, right? Go into the right again. Now, the big part of why I'm doing this so often is you want really stronger legs so that you can kick up. You can't kick up. A big factor is that your legs aren't strong enough. I mean, it might be a mental block, right, of course, which isn't necessarily bad, but as you get stronger in your legs, you'll be able to kick up more easily and get in the habit of practicing
more frequently with handstands or whatever it is that you want to develop. You know, get in the habit of practicing it a few times a day. It gets easier and easier, and then it becomes, just is easier to balance, because it'll take possibly thousands of attempts to get up into a handstand for yourself. Bring yourself all the way back up and then separate the feet nice and wide, and take the feet out. Bring yourself down with hands, or stay upright without hands. So I'm moving my legs in sometimes, and then there's times I'm moving my legs apart. You know, I'm independently using the strength of each leg to lift up and out. Perfectly fine to bring the hands down, right? Say it's too much stress, you bring the hands down. Say it's not enough stress, because there's people that really are just genetically tighter. You might need a little bit of an external weight. That could be, you know, start with a light weight, like 2 to 5 pounds, you know. Could be 8 to 10, depending on how big you are, right? And then I'm gonna move the feet in a little bit closer, and then I'm gonna bring myself back up. We're gonna go back to independently moving into the Cossack stretch. So turn the right foot out, sit down into the right foot, elevate the left heel up. Now you're targeting more of the hamstring. When you come out of this, drive through the right foot, bring yourself up, lean into the left side, and use the strength. So I'm in the bottom of the squat, but I don't want to just get flexible, I want to get stronger, right? Bring yourself to the right side, use the right foot. You could turn to the left foot, arms could, you know, this is a good place to start. You want to be more upright, and then it's more focused on the pelvis. Drive through the right foot, bring yourself up, go to the left. So let's say you're not very strong or stable in yoga in terms of transitions. This will really help. Drive through the left foot, bring yourself back up. We're going to go to the right one more time. Lean into the right. I'm not all the way down. I'm resisting, but I don't want to just sit at the bottom. I want to use my right leg to come up and then go over to the left. Right, again, not sitting all the way down, and then driving through the left foot and bringing yourself back up. So bring the feet somewhat back together, about the width of the shoulders, and come into a squat again. So squat down, take a couple deep breaths, interlace the fingers, move the wrist around, make the right hand into a fist, pull it back. So see what is more effective, gentle stretching or more progressive stretching for the wrist. You know, I wish it was just do this and that's what you should do, but everybody's different, and you'll need it. You know, some people will need one approach, other people will need a different approach, and then so on, right? So we're going to go back to the wall again, but before we go to the back of the wall, is bring the hands just underneath the shoulders and just practice bringing the weight in the hands. So really feel what it's like being on the hands. Like push really hard, just in a quadruped position, and you'll get the sense of how to use your hands more. When you're on your hands here, see which fingers have a better connection to the floor. I'm very connected through index finger, middle finger, ring finger. Pinky finger is, it's there, but it's not as prominent as far as how much I'm pushing. So should you kick up, should you hop up? If you're just learning, either one is correct. It's just a matter of getting you up. So when you go up, say you come down, go right back up. Just go back up. You have to bring a greater intensity if it's like a lot of work to get up. You got to really like get yourself up for it, right? So bring the hands down, and when you bring the hands down, I'm going to press through the hands. I'm going to take my non-dominant leg up. I'm going to swing it up and bring it down. I'm going to take it up and then bring it down. So swing from the bottom, take it up, stay up, and again, you can work the heel pulls, like working the feet away from the wall to work the balance. So I'm using my fingertips really to keep myself up, from keeping myself from falling. So push through the hands, keep the belly, keep the ribs in, keep the hips active. You could point through the feet or flex.
You know, I point more in my handstands, but certainly you could do it with a feet flex. So take a couple deep breaths here, keep driving through the fingertips, and when you come down, say you're new to this, come down with one leg, nice and slow, and let's say you fast, whatever. It's a process, it takes time, it takes lots of practice to eventually do that, right? So go back to the forward bend again. Just take the hands to the left side, take the hands to the right, bring the hands forward, step back into a plank. So get really strong through the hands, and then bring yourself all the way down. And then when you come all the way down, we're just gonna practice a drill of keeping the ribs in and keeping the shoulders back. And you can add a little bit of weight in your hands, like 2 pounds of weight, something like that on a stick or a yoga strap. I'm not using that today, but just to give you an idea that you could be using other things. So just take the hands forward where the hands face one another and keep the head down, keep the ribs in, and just pull the arms up away from the floor. Really lift them up. I did this quite a bit in my Wednesdays class. So if you go back to that class, that's a good reference, and that's on YouTube. So take the arms up off the floor, pull the ribs away from the floor, and then bring the arms down. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders, curl up into a low cobra, curl up into something higher, right, grip the floor, lift through the pubic bone, broaden your back. Right? And then what you're going to do is sit back onto your feet. So tuck the toes and sit on the heels and take the arms into a cactus position. So I'm just here in a cactus just to integrate into the shoulders. Right? But just being on the toes is going to help in supporting what I'm going to do next in terms of back bending. So flatten out the feet and sit on the feet. And then this could be a sequence, right? I'm tucking the toes, I'm sitting back on the heels. So if this is difficult, it's nice to do both. You know, if you're comfortable sitting on the toes, we can do different various back bends from there. You can tuck the toes and sit back on the heels. Now take the hands beside you, lift the knees off the floor. Have blocks support your hands if you need to. Pull the knees up and bring them down. Develop some coordination below the navels, how you're lifting the legs. Bring them down and then take them up. Now bring the arms forward, come up halfway, come up all the way. So you may need a chair, right? So I'm bringing a chair here. And then when you have this chair, it's for back bending. So if you're new to this, have the heels up. So just turn to the chair with your feet flat. Turn to the other side, right? Or turn to the wall. Turn to the left. Open through the shoulders, the back. Look to the right. Right? Not forcing, but turning, twisting, and then coming back in the middle. Now I'm going to lift the heels. I'm going to go back to the chair. I don't have to touch the chair, but it's there. I can push through the chair and bring myself back up. I'm going to turn to the chair, reach for the chair, tailbone's moving down, glutes are engaged. Bring yourself up, turn to the chair, bring the left hand back, push, bring yourself up, turn to the chair. Again, the chair is something that you can get to, but it's not necessarily better. It's just more range. So if I go back, heels could be up or not. Bring yourself back up. So you can increase the range, eventually get to the heels or grab opposite heels. And that's advanced yoga. There's rotational back bends. But it's great to do before you ever get there because it'll help. It's much easier to develop back bends that way. So come down onto your hands and your knees. So have the hands down. Step back into a plank. Grip the floor, transfer the weight around, right? And
And then what you'll do is you're gonna spin the heels again to the left side, take the right arm up to the ceiling. So push through the left hand, open through the chest, the shoulders. You know, this is viewed as a very easy position, which it can be if you're not active, like easy in that it's easy to hold it, but if I'm pushing, it's gonna help develop the shoulders so that you can be in these straight arm positions. So bring the right hand down, spin the heels to the right side, take the left arm up to the ceiling. So the left arm is high, grip the floor, open through the chest, open through the shoulders. Couple deep breaths here, and then bring the left hand down, and then walk the hands, or just walk the hips back, or move the hips back so that you're in a down dog. So push through the hands, widen through the thighs, walk the feet forward, walk the hands back towards the feet. Roll yourself up to standing. Right, come up. Take the feet out wide again. Take the feet out into a nice wide position. Lift the thighs up and out. Again, might not be as wide as me. Maybe it's more. Really depends on the day. I'm never really disappointed if I don't go really low. You know, I want to be practicing for a very long time in life, so I'm not really concerned with how deep I go. As I get stronger, you'll get healthier. So think of building strength rather than flexibility. Flexibility is needed, but it's almost taken out of context a lot of times with people. Not always, right? But in some cases, and then people get injured, right? Bring the hands on the floor as you take the hands down. Continue to widen the thighs, lift the thighs up and out. Right, a couple deep breaths here. You want to get lower, you can get your elbows to the floor. Take 3 deep breaths. And then what you could do is toe heel the feet in a little bit closer. Bring yourself back up to standing. So come back up and just step the feet back together. Feel the weight in the feet. Feel if you have too much weight in the front of the foot and the heel of the foot. No different than when you're on your hands. So most likely when people are handstanding, weight's too far forward. That's why it hurts the wrist, hurts the lower back. You keep the weight in the middle of the hand. It's much harder to balance, but it's much easier on the wrist. Take the feet out wide again. With the feet out wide, turn the feet out. With the feet turned out, go into the right foot. Stretch your yoga mat out. Right? Keep moving the mat out wider. Sit low, not maybe as low as you can, right? But drive through the right foot. Lift yourself back up. And then you can sit back into the left foot, or sitting down in the left side. Sit nice and low, point the toes up. It's obviously more hamstring. Right? Bring yourself back up. And then sit into the right. When you sit into the right, we're going to practice sitting down. So if you can, sit down with your hands or without your hands. So if I'm sitting down without my hands, I'm really trying to create more space within my hips. And then I'll gradually sit down. And then as I sit down, I'm going to have my right knee in. I'm going to come forward over my left leg. But when I come forward over my left leg, I'm trying to lift my leg up. And I don't want to just get low from rounding my back. Not that that's, probably won't hurt you, but it's going to limit how much you're exposing the leg, right? You're basically compensating to go further. So I'm trying to lift the leg to my face. And you could pull with the hand. We'll do that a little bit. So for knees, just for the sake of healthy knees, is get the leg to be nice and straight and pull on the top of the foot. And as you pull on the top of the foot is right, to get more into the back of the leg, like the final little bits. Bring yourself up. Have the right knee point up. Get the connection in the foot rather than just standing up, right? So push through the foot. Feel that. Drive through the right leg. Bring yourself back up. Sit into the left side. Make it gradual. Widen the legs out, right? Maybe you're sitting a little bit deeper, possibly, if you can. And then as you're sitting, again, get more spacious laterally. And then you can sit down. Of course, you use the hands. Right, bring the left knee down. So you bring the left knee down. You're gonna come forward over the right leg. As you come forward over the right leg, try to lift the leg up into the chest. So you're pulling it up and in. So like Navasana, you want to get the action of the hip flexor to lift up, and that's how you can come more forward. And then we'll reach for the foot, and then just see which heel is easier to come off the floor. In my case, it's much more difficult to do this on my left side, and I've had more challenges in my left knee than my right, and I really believe for me it's because I have had a more difficult time having my legs straight. So how your shins sit or how they operate in comparison to the joint really factors in. So pull the top of the foot back, right? Be really strong in driving the leg down, the right leg. Could be a little bit in the left too because it's internal rotation. Then bring yourself back up, elevate the left knee. Try not to lean too far forward when you stand up. Use your legs to get yourself up. Bring yourself all the way back up. Bring the legs back together. Have the knees together. Take the arm forward. And just sit again to a level that's comfortable for you. Maybe it's all the way down. Bring the hands down. Bring the knees forward. Pull the knees back, bring it forward, pull it back. One more time, bring it forward, untuck the toes, sit into the heels, and take a couple deep breaths here. Deep breathing. Tuck the toes again. As you tuck the toes, lift the knees, lift a couple inches off the heels, lift a little bit more, lift all the way back up, bring the arms down. So we're gonna practice kicking up, but at the wall, but rather than kicking up, just get in the habit of kicking up and coming down. And maybe that's your practice and that's what you've been using, but continue to do that. So it's good to do if you had like a clean space, outdoor space. It's like, I'll go the length of a basketball court. That's how I like to do it. Very good for handstands. So bring the hands to the wall, if you are using the wall, and you'll press through the hands initially, get the shoulders, and if you're really, really tired, exhausted, obviously not good to do. Continue to with side plank. But when you're really tired, sometimes it's actually easier. So there's a fine line to that, right? So push through the hands, round through the shoulders. Start with your non-dominant leg. So kick up, bring it down, and lift up. Now if you can switch on the top, right? Bring the left leg down and then the right leg is up. Add some coordination. Right leg down, left leg stays up. Kick the left leg up. Left leg comes down, right leg stays up. So just get into a rhythm of pressing up. And just stay up for 5. Keep the ribs in. 4. Press really hard through the fingertips. 3, 2, and 1. And you could obviously stay longer if you want it. And bringing the self down. Come into a squat again. So squat. Take a few breaths. Press through the feet. And come into a seated position. So just your feet are together and your knees are wide. So with your feet together and your knees wide, push into the right thigh, resist the pressure, squeeze up into the hand. Simple but very effective. And then release that, bring the left hand into the left thigh. Resist the pressure of the left hand, lift the left thigh up into the heel of the left hand. right? And then bring the hands down and then push the legs apart. As you push the legs apart, you're getting more space into the inner thighs. Take 2 deep breaths. Right, and then bring the knees back up. Come into a hand position, a plank position. Grip the floor, reach back through the heels of the feet, and just practice walking back a little bit. Just walk back, walk forward. So something that you could do is just this, but you could also practice crawling wherever you're at today. Good to be on the hands more. Move the hands back towards the feet. Walk the hands back towards the top of the mat. Push through the hands, round through the shoulders. One last time, walk the hands back. Right, and then roll yourself up to standing. Roll it up. Right, come up on the toes, take the arms overhead, being a thumb lock. Organize your torso to the wall that's in front of you. So see how your ribs sit in space. And then lower the heels, and exhale, lower the arms. And again, just have the hands on the knees. Just practice bending the knees a little bit, straightening the legs. So again, it's the smallest motion might be the most complicated motion of the knee. And that's why some of the positions might be giving you some more trouble. Right? So I'm going to do a little bit more of the back bending. Say you're kind of exhausted, sit in Virasana. So if I couldn't, I'm going to do the sissy squat, back bends. So if I couldn't do that dynamic stretch, I'm going to sit on a block on the highest, lowest levels. The lower you sit, the more stress is through the quad, and that's what's probably stopping you from doing camel, possibly wheel. So if you're on the block and you want to stand, tuck the toes, lift the knees off the floor, bring yourself back up. So when you're doing the sissy squat, twist, back bend, you want, again, the glutes to work, the tailbone down. And again, it's okay if you don't touch a chair or your feet. It's not necessarily better, it's just more range. So I'm lifting the heels, I'm looking to the foot, I'm twisting, right? I'm taking my time, especially if I've never done this before, and bringing myself up, right? I'm gonna look to my right foot. I'm twisting through the majority of my spine. That's how your spine operates. I'm reaching for the foot if it's available. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna reach for the left foot. As I reach for the left foot, right, tailbone is down, bringing yourself back up. Again, just looking to the wall is the beginning of this. Lower through the tail, look to the right foot, reach for the right foot. As it gets easier, it doesn't have to be the feet you reach for. You can reach for other objects. All right, so come back up. Come back to just an easy squatting position. Lift the heels. Right, bring yourself halfway down. Bring yourself all the way down. Tuck the knees down. Have yourself sit over your heels of your feet. Take a few deep breaths here. Untuck the toes, but sit now in between the feet. As you sit in between the feet, hug the feet into the hips. Take a few deep breaths. Keep breathing. And then untuck the toes. Lift the knees off the floor. So I'm going to do straddle again, but with some blocks. It's a very good way. There's different ways to do it in terms of getting you lower, and it's a good way. But you could sit on the floor with your legs out wide is another good option. So tuck the toes or tuck the toes underneath you, lift the knees, bring yourself back up, and then get your blocks. It helps if the blocks are cork. You can certainly do it with foam blocks, but you gotta be careful because they can collapse, right? So I'm going to take my feet out wide. I'm going to take my legs wide. Then I'm going to bring the blocks to the highest level to start. And then I'm going to place the block somewhat into my thighs where I can sit more upright. So once keep your hands in the blocks, of course, or a chair. But if you're okay with it, take the hands off and push the legs apart. Drive your legs apart, getting your legs to move apart, getting your chest to open up. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then what you'll do is you'll bring your hands down, and then you can do the blocks where they're lower. And like I said, maybe we don't get lower. I don't even know if I'm gonna go that low. Closer to the knee, the quadricep develops more, so it might be a little easier there. So I'm just about on the second block, and again, I'm okay if I don't get lower, and you should be as well. You know, it's a process. So I'm keeping my hands down, I'm close to touching, and that's a good measure. And you kind of know, and you can obviously take notes of your practice to kind of see where you're at. Right? And then what I'm gonna do is bring the feet in closer, move the blocks forward, right? And then I'm gonna stand back up. Once I come up, I'm gonna bring my hands on my hips if I need it. I'm gonna bring myself up, and I'm gonna step the feet back together. So just a neutral stance. So we try that one more time, but without the blocks, possibly sitting down. So you gotta be careful with this, right? So take the feet out wide. As the feet are out wide, press the legs apart. So to come down, I'm gonna bring my hands down in between my legs. You can kind of slide down your arms with your legs. So I'm moving more down. And this will help with pressing up into handstands. So the legs are like the blocks. So this might actually work better than the blocks. So just take a couple breaths here, a few breaths here, and then say it's really a lot of pressure on the arms. Bring your arms more forward. And then when you come down, right, slow descent. May have to take the hands wider to get down. But pressing out and then sitting down, taking the legs out to a wide position. So I'm not gonna do that again, but you could do that for repetitions. You could, you know, especially in grass, sneakers, it's a good thing to do in terms of getting that position. So go out to the left with the upper body. Lift up through the chest, bring yourself forward. I've said this before, the further you take your legs apart, the more difficult it is to get to them. So you need the leverage, bring your legs in closer. So I'm gonna come forward, or come back with my right hand behind my head. I'm pushing my legs apart, turning through the upper body. I'm gonna reach for the left foot with the right hand. I'm gonna hold my right leg with my left hand. I'm gonna turn my upper body towards the ceiling. So I'm pushing my foot forward into my top hand, and then I'm turning my chest towards the ceiling. So a couple of deep breaths here, lift yourself up. And then bring yourself back up, go to the right, and then when you go to the right, you can bring yourself forward. Again, it's good to not use the hand so much. It has its place. But get into the practice of building better range from strength as opposed to just passive and weighted stuff, right? I mean, the weight, you know, you've been doing yoga for a long time and it hasn't improved, you'll probably need extra weight. So it's perfectly fine, right? I'm gonna take the left hand behind the head and turn the upper body towards the ceiling. And then as I turn, I'm gonna reach for the foot with the left hand. I'm gonna reach for the left leg with the right hand. And again, the wider the legs are, it's more difficult to grab the leg. If I had tights on or sweats on or jeans, right, I could pull on that, and then that would help get the right shoulder to move more forward. So take a couple deep breaths here, and then bring yourself back up. And then bring the legs together where the knees are bent. So with the knees being bent, have the hands underneath the shoulders. And just lift the hips up off the floor. So lift yourself up. You can move forward towards the feet with the hips. You can bring it back. You can bring it forward. So as you get more comfortable with this and you know your boundaries, you can make the stance longer, right? And then bringing the hips more forward in space will add more leverage into the front of the shoulder, which will help with extensions. But a pose that I really like in terms of flexibility and just because I don't always have the luxury of someone adjusting me is I like a V-sit at the wall, and that's something that we're going to use. So bring yourself back, and then when you come back, you're going to have the hands beside the knees and just point through the toes. So if you don't have a lot of hip strength or strength in general, have the hands further back. Just take the right foot up off the floor, lift it up, and then bring it down. Take the left leg up, bring it down, take it up, hold. Right, a static hold is good. Up and down is good too. You can lift the left leg up, and then you can bring it down. Now, come forward without the hands. So keep pulling the legs up and in. As you pull the legs up and in, you'll kind of see how much range you actually have in eventually doing it like more of an L sit or a V sit, right? And bring yourself up, and then what we're gonna do is take the hands beside the knees and take the legs up, pull them up and in, bring them down, take it up, bring it down, take it up, down, up, down, up one more time, and then down. Go back to the bent knee position, have the hands underneath the shoulders, lift the hips up off the floor. So the way that I'm practicing is not flowing, of course, right? But to really change something, not to say that this is the best approach, but it's a more direct approach, and that's why I'm doing it. Because there's a lot of things we could use, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to transfer over into giving you poses that you'd like to develop. Right, bring the weight forward, open up through the front of the shoulder, bring yourself back. Now I'm going to bring the hips down, and I'm going to try to walk my hips more forward towards my feet. So I'm getting more of my back close to the floor. Again, that's not necessarily a measure of, I mean, it's a measurement that you're developing, but it will be uncomfortable, but not like tearing or hurting yourself, right? And then come back with the hips, and then just bring the right foot outside the left hip and step the left foot over the right knee. Take the right arm around the left shin. So I'm really low and I'm isolating more through the hip. So with those Cossack stretches, or say you're a runner or you're a cyclist, these are really, really big, powerful muscles that we use. You want to keep them not so tight. And you know, if you dance, you know, these are great. And again, I've said this before, it's very similar to a pigeon, but I like it because you can relax a little bit more in it, and it's not like all of your weight, because there can be some risks with pigeon. I've never personally, thankfully, never hurt myself in pigeon, but I know people have. It's very rare, but it happens. Then bring yourself back up, and then you can undo the legs and bring the right foot over the left. And even though we're not twisting, you're still getting elements of a twist. Take the left arm around the right shin, and as I get lower, I may need to support the head with something, but this will be a really good stretch for the outside of the hip. Right? Nice and specific for the post-capsule. So take 3 deep breaths here. Breathe in, breathe out. And then bring yourself back up. And you could twist more, lie on your back, you could be done. I'm gonna do one more thing, and that's a V-sit at the wall. So if you've seen my Instagram post, this is one of my posts. It's something that I could do years ago, so I'm working up to it again. So I'm getting my legs up. As I get my legs up, this could be your position, just here, right? You could do it with bent knees, wide legs, right? But if you're up for it, I'm gonna bring my hips closer and closer to the wall. On top of it, I want my hands close to my hips, because eventually that's what you're doing. So I'm gonna get my hips up. And then in getting the hips up, I'm holding the position. I'm pushing through the hands and fingers. The hard part is keeping yourself up. You're keeping yourself up into this position. But in keeping it up, the wall is really stretching out the legs. But I want to pull my legs more and more to my face. I want to get myself closer to my legs. And then you can bring yourself down. So when I'm down, you might need to walk out. You feel like a lot of pressure in your hands, your shoulders. Walk back out. I'm going to go back up. Just going to come up one more time. So push through the hands, push through the fingers, pull the legs in, right? Keep it in. And then when you come down, you could, if you can control the weight or move the hands a little wider, that helps. You could take the legs out further. You can slide the hips back, hands back, and then going back. And that can, again, be a lot on the hands, a lot on the wrists. So just lie back onto your back. As you lie back onto your back, have your feet together and your knees wide. And just have the hands interlaced. And just move the hands to move the wrist. Right? Make the hand into a fist and pull back on the right hand with the left hand. Stretch out the forearm. And make the left hand into a fist. Pull it back. And then take the hands in between the thighs. Lift up. It's very neutral. And bring yourself back down. Take the feet off the floor. So most women, not all women, but most women have an anterior tilt in the hips. So when you take the photo of your handstand, you might see that big sway. It's a very good way to correct it. Take the hands over the shoulders, have the knees over the hips. Bring the left leg forward in space. Take the right arm overhead. So belly's in, ribs are in. Bring the hands over the shoulders, the knees over the hips. Take the left arm overhead and the right leg forward. So keep it in, belly's in, ribs are in. Bring the hands over the shoulders, knees over the hips. Take the right arm overhead, the left leg forward. Keep it in, belly's in, ribs in. Bring it back up. Left arm overhead, right leg forward. Deep, deep breathing. And then bring the knees over the hips, bring the arms down. Take the feet underneath the knees. Hold the sides of the mat. It's good traction for the wrists. And lift the hips up off the floor. So get the shoulders underneath you. Get your glutes involved. Push through your feet. And then start to lift literally through the spine. So get the spine to move. Especially the lower back. You've been sitting a lot. Most likely your lower back is getting a bit, can get dysfunctional. So you want to keep the nice natural arc in the lower back, and you could put something underneath your lower back when we rest. So bring yourself back down, and when you come back down, just have the feet as wide as the mat. Take the knees to the right. Look over the left shoulder. Take the knees up, move the legs through space, knees to the left, look to the right, bring your legs back up. Just let the knees touch together. Rest the hands on you or beside you. Assess how you feel. So if you needed more stretching in some capacity, you could certainly do it. You know, that could be more twisting. You could also be in a supported back bend. You could rest the legs all the way forward and down. Palms could face up. You can relax into the hands. So just let yourself go. Breathe in, breathe out. Get more weight in the head. The face will relax, the throat, the shoulders. Everything will be a little bit more at ease. And then as you calm yourself down, The good thing about an active, really strong practice is it's so much easier to relax. So like intensive training, whatever form it may be, it's so good to relax after it. So if you're ready to move again, you're on your back and you want to move, you could wiggle your fingers, you could wiggle your toes, you could swallow a couple times. Of course, you can obviously stay on your back. But as you're moving again, you could pull the knees into the chest, you could stretch more, you could roll up, and you could sit on a higher surface to produce better posture. And then just in being in an upright position, just take the left hand to the left and reach the right hand out to the right. So I had mentioned this about wrists in terms of having some sort of wrist routine. It's good to have, but also some shoulder work throughout the week, especially if you're very interested in being on your hands. It could be just as important, maybe more. Bring yourself up, slide the right hand to the right side, reach the left hand to the left, let the head hang down towards the right hand. And one side might be consistently tighter than the other, and that could be for a number of reasons, but nice to release it. And then you can bring yourself back up, and then when you sit up, you can have your palms face up, you can sit nice and tall, you can organize yourself to whatever's around you in terms of a wall, piece of furniture, just getting nice and upright and squared. You don't have to bring the hands together, but if you'd like to, it's a gesture of thanks. I hope you had a great class. Obviously, I'm wanting to help build you as best that I can, so let me know how it's going. Have a beautiful day, and hopefully I'll see you over the weekend. Tomorrow at 9 is my Hatha 1 class. Sunday is my Zoom class, and that's from 10 to 11. And you register on my website. Again, thank you so much for the support. We love, again, your positivity and your comments. So thanks for sharing. Namaste.